So the difference between damage and attack roll. These two are often confused from one to another, and yes, I have discussed about them on my previous video about terminology, but I think that it is very important that we discuss specifically about them on this video. Larian has done its best. They have done everything they could to simplify these terms for you to be able to understand them, and yes, the game is going to be doing some calculations for you. It is going to be automatic right here, and the game is going to tell you right on the screen what is it that you're going to get, how is it that you're going to get it. And yes, it is very approachable for new players especially, but the thing is that also with some skills or some features, class features as you level up, some stuff that you are going to have, they are going to be still using the dice rolling, and we're going to be speaking a little bit about dice rolls, but if you want to understand that much on deeper about dice rolls, then I advise for you to go watch my dice rolling video. But anyways, I'm going to do my best to explain you what is the difference between attack roll and a damage roll. And yes, I know that veterans and experienced players are already going to be aware of this, but I myself do have in mind that I myself as well often get confused because the terminology and the skills that you have in the game is often very ambiguous. So sometimes you might be confusing one term with the other, and it is very important for you to understand all of this because this is going to maximize the damage capabilities and potential and make the usage of your skill that much more efficient on the battlefields. So let's begin simple. One is the attack roll. The attack roll, simplified for you, is going to be the chance of you actually on a successful hit against a character, and this, the calculation, is going to be done for you by the game on itself. So as you can see right here, I have 60% chances of being able to hit this character that I have in front of me. That's the simplified version of it. Now let's talk about the complex version. An attack roll is basically a dice of 20. A dice of 20 has to bypass the armor class of the enemy. That is what this percentage is coming from. The enemy might have some proficiencies. You might have some proficiencies. So right now, for example, I have a dice of 20, and to be able to bypass the damage that I have on Lae'zel right here, she's going to have a 16 armor class, and the reason why I am not getting like 30% or on my hits and my damage, that is because I also have my proficiencies on the attack rolls that I am going to have, like for example the proficiencies that I have on martial weapons that I can check right here. So that dice of 20 is going to receive a bonus to be able to bypass that armor class that I need to meet with any one of my dice rolls. And then the damage, the simplified version of damage. The simplified version of damage, the game is also doing the calculus right here. I have 14 damage with my weapon. And also, if I am going to be using a skill, as you can see, this skill is going to be dealing 9 to 26 damage. So how does the game actually does the calculus for all of those things? Well, it's very simple. Each type of damage, it's going to have each type of dice. So for example, for this specific weapon, I'm going to be rolling a dice of 8. One dice of 8. My damage is going to be 1 to 8. But based on my proficiencies and my ability score and the rarity of the weapon, sometimes also magic weapons are going to have a +1 right here. This is what is going to contribute to my damage. So for example, 1 plus 6 equals to 7, 8 plus 6 equal to 14. That is the possible damage that I can deal. And as soon as I level up, I'm going to get new skills, new rarity skills, new features, new spells, and the spells are going to be able to be upgraded as well. So how do I actually get damage calculus from those spells? So for example, this is the basic spell. Let's talk about the Divine Smite. A Divine Smite is going to have my basic damage roll, which is going to be for a maximum of 14, as you can see right here. But I am also going to be rolling 2 dices of 8, as you can see right here. I'm going to be rolling 2 dices of 8, equals that I am going to have 16 possible more damage. 14 plus 16 is going to be 30 damage. And 2 extra dices is going to turn my 7 into 9 minimum damage. As soon as you upgrade those spells, this is the level 1 version of the spell. If I go to the next level version of the spell, as you can see, instead of getting 2 dices of 8 that I have right here, I'm going to have instead 3 dices of 8, meaning that to that 30 I'm adding the extra dice of damage right here, which is going to be a possible 8 more damage for 38. So as you can see, the game does the calculus for you. You don't really need to care about anything that's happening in the background. We're opposite to what is happening on the tabletop. The tabletop, you're actually not caring about that either because you're just rolling your dices. But it is very important for you to understand this, because while the game it is doing the calculus, as you can see right here, for each and every single spell that I am going to be using, not all the times the game will tell you what is it that you're going to be getting from that spell. So for example, if I'm not careful enough and I do not mind that I am going to get that 60% extra main attack, sometimes this is something that new players, this is something that I did when I began playing my Dungeons and Dragons games. When I was using Bless, I was thinking, oh boy, well, it says attack right there, so I'm increasing my damage. No, you are increasing your percentage of dealing damage to someone by adding to your attack roll, because if I do that, I'm going to get that 60 all the way up to 70%, because I am going to get that extra attack roll. But you also need to have in mind that you're not going to be using the higher level tier of spells of Bless, thinking that it's going to increase the percentage, of you being able to actually hit that someone, because if I cast a level 3 Bless, it is not going to increase the native potency of the spell on itself, so to speak, because as you can see right here, I still have my 70%. So I would be wasting a level 3 Bless just to get nothing. What is a level 3 Bless going to give me? Well, a level 3 Bless, it's going to bless up to 5 creatures, which is useless if you have just 4 characters in your party. Sometimes you might be getting some summonings from your summoners or from your rangers, you get beasts, or from the druids and whatnot, so that is going to be affecting all of your ally creatures. But more often than not, I wouldn't be using a high level tier Bless, because some characters have a higher chance of actually hitting someone. Like for example, a rogue. You can place a rogue on a high place right here. If you jump and you get advantage from a high place and you actually try to hit someone from that high place, you are going to get advantages, and you are going to get, as you can see, we have high ground, we have Bless, and Bless did actually nothing. So potentially, if I am using Bless, I will not be using Bless to cover this guy, meaning that I would only be covering 3 party members to effectively get most out of the combat, meaning that I would be using a level tier 1 Bless instead of wasting my level 3 spell that I would be using against something with damage or something better like that. And do have in mind that also terminology is often very confusing, and this is true for veterans, experienced players. Yes, I know that there are godly players out there that never make mistakes, but for the humble mortal creatures like myself, your servants, sometimes you will be confused, and you need to be aware of all of these little terms for you to be aware of what you're doing. Like for example, with Lae'zel right here, we have the class features right here with Lae'zel. With our class feature on Lae'zel, we have the Great Weapon Fighting, and as you can see, it says that when you roll a 1 or 2 on a damage die for an attack with 200 melee weapon, that die is rerolled once. What in freaking heavens is that? It says damage right here, it's not highlighted. It says attack right here, it's not highlighted. It's going to be re-rolling a dice once. It is going to be re-rolling stuff. So what is this actual thing going to do? And I've seen people confusing, saying, oh, when you miss with your dice roll, you get another re-roll to be able to hit the enemy. That is not how this is going to work. When you roll a 1 or 2 on a damage die, this is what you want to focus on. So when you roll a 1 or 2 on a damage die for an attack with a two-handed melee weapon, that die is re-roll once. But do have in mind that it's just going to happen once. So for example, let's say if I did my attack with my longsword right here, and I got a 1 or 2 for my damage roll. So that means that I am going to get either a 2 or a 3 base damage. But since it was so low, the game, if I have this feature, the game is going to roll that dice again, giving me the option, giving me potentially the option of getting a 3, 4, 5, 6 or 8. So that is very good. But sometimes to remember that when you are going to have skills like this one right here, it's going to roll 3 dices. Just one of those 3 dices is going to be re-rolled. One of those dices that received a 1. If you received a 1 or a 2 with one of those damage dices, that is what is going to be re-rolled. So you want to be very clear that that is something that you want to do, and that is what the game is going to be doing for you. That is the calculation that the game is going to be doing for you once you actually commit to taking that feature and to taking that action. So be very mindful about the skills that you use. When do you use those skills? When are they going to be beneficial for you? When are they not going to be beneficial for you? How to maximize your damage? While the game is doing all of the calculus for you, you do need to be efficient on what spells do you use, how do you use them, and when do you use them. Anyways, if you like content, I'm gonna be super appreciated. And I'll tell you today you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, like the video before you close the door. And I'll be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. Have a beautiful day and goodbye.